President Cyril Ramaphosa has, in terms of the Special Investigating Unit and Special Tribunal Act 74 of 1996, established a special tribunal to fast-track the finalisations of investigations of monies and of assets that were looted from state institutions through corruption. Now, this special tribunal will fast-track matters that the Special Investigation Unit refers for civil litigation following the conclusion of their investigations. Now, according to the reports, the SIU is probing 11 contractors for allegedly looting 139 billion rand during the building of Eskom's Medupi, Kusile and Ingula power stations. Ramaphosa had appointed Judge Gidfonia Mlindelwa Makhanya as the president of the tribunal for a period of 3 years. Joining us now telephonically is Professor Jannie, the head of the School of Economics and Business Sciences at Wits Business School. A very good morning to you, Professor. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, in your view, do you think this special tribunal will help solve the country's financial crisis?
Good morning, Cynthia. Good morning to the listeners. The tribunal will not help to resolve the financial crisis, but it will go a long way towards restoring order in the country. It will show to people who were busy with state capture that the government is serious in addressing this matter, and over time, funds will be recovered that will help to restore financial stability. But more important, it will bring an end to state capture.
I mean, is this a lengthy process? Because the president has appointed Judge Makhanya over the next 3 years. How long would it be? Is this a lengthy process in your view?
Yeah, it is indeed a lengthy process. It will be difficult to go through all the investigations to see exactly what had been looted and then to take steps to recover. But I've always said that the Zuma state capture project was a 10-year project, and therefore we have every reason to believe that it will take at least 10 years to undo the harm that Mr. Zuma did with his cronies.
And how will this special tribunal affect taxpayers?
Well, the tribunal will, on the one hand, of course, be a costly exercise, so taxpayers will have to pay for that. But to the extent that the tribunal recovers funds, it will be possible to raise lower taxes from taxpayers, as the funds can then be used to fund government expenditure.
And explain to us, if you can, Professor, how this special tribunal will fast-track the SIU's investigation?
The special tribunal will have elements of a court of law. In other words, cases will be heard by this tribunal, and the tribunal will reach conclusions on the cases it hears, and it will not be necessary to wait for a court process. However, what is not quite clear is whether it is possible to appeal the findings of the tribunal in the High Court. And if that is true, of course, it can become a very lengthy process with repeated appeals against tribunal findings.
What then happens in the event that the guilty party has squandered the money that they received through corruption?
Well, I hope they will all go to jail. Whether they squandered the money or not, when guilty, I hope they will all go to jail. And I can only hope that Mr. Jacob Zuma will lead the pack to jail. I would dearly want to see Mr. Zuma in jail for his conduct and the damage he has personally done to South Africa.
I mean, having said that, Professor, I mean, we've seen commission of inquiry after commission of inquiry, but then no meaningful action has been taken, and we still haven't seen those implicated in corruption wearing orange uniforms. What makes you think that this particular special tribunal will make it possible that those who've been found guilty of corruption will make it all the way to jail?
Simply, if we live in South Africa, we always live in hope. And please, when I say I want to see people in jail, I do not only mean people guilty of state capture. I also mean Mr. Marcus Jooste and his cronies in Steinhoff, that has really done a lot of harm to that company and had very detrimental impact financially on many people. So I'm talking about government state capture, but I'm also talking about private companies such as Steinhoff.
Do you think it's possible that most illegal profits from these alleged crimes may have been funneled overseas? I mean, if that's the case, what then is the likelihood of returning it to South Africa?
I have reason to believe that a lot of this money would have been exported illegally overseas. But it depends on where the money is, whether it will be possible to recover these funds. But it's a bit early to speculate whether there are the possibility of recoveries. But we will have to allow the process to take its course. But even if we do not recover funds, but as you call it, we see people in the orange uniforms, that will be a step forward to heal our country from the damage that has been done under the Zuma administration.
Do you perhaps know of any examples where a special tribunal was successful in retrieving money from corruption?
Offhand, I must admit that I do not have knowledge.
All right, Professor, let's now focus on the independence of the SIU, I beg your pardon, and critically looking at the key aspects of that unit, notably the organizational, the functional, and the financial independence of the SIU. Is it really independent?
One can argue that the Special Investigations Unit should be more independent. Naturally, it's about personalities, as is often the case in these matters. So I would like to see more independence, but let's hope it is independent enough and that President Ramaphosa will allow the necessary independence.
Well, the SIU has got very intrusive powers, I would say. For instance, Section 52, subsection 2 of that particular, of the SIU Act allows the unit to subpoena persons before it in a hearing. And this section empowers the unit to, to ask questions. And those answers, to compel those people who've been subpoenaed to answer questions, even if it incriminates them. Well, some political pundits have been saying that they've been punching holes on this particular act, saying that what if the persons or the witnesses backtracks and change their story because this, whatever evidence they've given is not admissible in a court of law?
Yes, indeed. The evidence will have to be tested in a court of law. That is part of normal legal processes. And naturally, a lawyer would be better equipped, and I would be equipped to talk about legal processes. I can focus on the economic impact of these matters, but the legislation is structured in such a way that certain outcomes can be achieved, but naturally people have the right of recourse.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for your time. That was Professor Jannie, the head of the School of Economics and Business Sciences at the Wits Business School, chatting to us on the line.